All right, ladies and gentlemen, one of the sub stories that emerged from Guam's experience going through Typhoon Mawar was our friend Landon Aydlett with the National Weather Service. He is the lead forecaster there, but so much attention was on he and his colleagues over there pumping out all this wonderful information. He was actually able to discover, was it Landon, a long lost relative or a relative you didn't even know? But now, congratulations, you have a new cousin that you've discovered.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I think it stemmed from our Facebook Live broadcast that we were doing from the office. And I knew from the beginning that that was going to be one of our key communications tools with this typhoon, especially as it was looking like a more significant threat. And so we really wanted to push the Facebook Live broadcast. And we kept it going, but just went with the flow, and it evolved in its own sense. That we had upwards of 4 to 5,000 people watching the broadcast for the entire duration. And they went from 15 minutes to 30 minutes to 35 minutes. But we wanted it to be interactive. People could type in their questions, ask questions, because we wanted people to get their stress, their worries, concerns out and talk to the forecasters. And that was such a great tool. It took its own life once the national and international news media started getting involved. And so the Associated Press started following up with questions and phone calls to interview. And they ended up doing this story about the twins on Guam communicating the storm on Guam. And and so that went international. So it's in newspapers all across the United States. I'm getting calls and messages from people all over the United
It is a
States,
clever
as
story
well
if
as
you think
from
about it.
different
Twin brothers
countries.
actually reporting the weather.
Yeah, so it went big, and I ended up getting a Facebook message from Nancy from New Mexico, and she said I was looking up a storm that I heard on the news, and I see Idlet and the news coverage. I'm like, surely we're not related, but it's not a common name. So she sent me a message, and we started piecing things together. And I linked her to my uncle, who's been going through our family tree for years, and it turns out she's my fifth cousin.
Well, that is far removed. Here on Guam, it's like okay,
So
second, third cousin is typical. And a fifth cousin, that's a pretty deep cut.
yeah, it was pretty fascinating. We were linked somewhere to like our great grandparents in far eastern North Carolina. So we have those common roots, that lineage. And so we started a family chat with my dad, my uncle, my brother, and her. And they've been putting all these pieces together and filling in some of the gaps in my uncle's family tree, with people who's been married and children and offspring and stuff like that. So it's been fascinating to see that conversation.
That was a great way to pass the time too. And I mean, I'm sure you could do okay, like what's your mom's lineage, what's your dad's lineage. You could probably like do the whole 21 and Me thing and swab yourself and actually get a DNA test. I would say the best way you can determine, Landon, because we know you, to determine if in fact is your relative, is if this person loves barbecue as much as you do. That's legit. That's a defining factor, I would say.
But as long as as long as she doesn't have my great hair.
And there is that too.
But
You
I'm
know
sure
that
she's
that's
a
that's
lover of
typical of
North Carolina
genealogy as
barbecue.
well.
I'm sure it is. But yeah, she's New Mexico, but North Carolina native. And so it's fascinating to see these things come out of the woodworks that you would never imagine otherwise. But like I said, the international national news coverage of this event was bigger than any storm I've experienced here in 13 years, even more than Super Typhoon U2. And I think it was really the communications process and strategy that we had from the weather office here, that really communicated to people, including military service members, all their parents that live in the States, concerned about their children over here in the military. We had so much uh, traffic from parents of service members in the States.
And
And
way up
so
in
just to
Anderson too.
communicate
Can you
that,
imagine a serviceman who's just been deployed out here in Guam, like within the last 60
oh
days, and
yeah,
now they got this?
yeah, so it's been phenomenal, and I really want to take this and move forward with it. I want this to be a big part of our communication strategy in storms to come, because people want to be spoken to. People want to see what's happening, and without the broadcast meteorologists that every other city in the United States has, I think this is a huge niche that we need to fill, and this goes right in line with get their weather information.
All
So this
right.
is, I think, a mission accomplished, a successful story.
Absolutely. And like it sounds so cliche to say, but it's absolutely proven true in this instance, Landon, is these natural disasters that would typically pull people apart. I think in this case, it actually brought people together. And that can you think of anything more Guamanian than that?
Not at all. And I think it's really when it comes to these events, the best asset of Guam is its people. And so this is where we really need to come together, check on our neighbors. We say this before a storm hits, check on your neighbors, be human, and make sure everyone has what they need, make sure they're prepared, and be neighborly. And so this is, I think it's a interesting start to what could be a busy year, but I think we take what we learned from this experience and we make those changes for the better so that when we have another threat later this year, we're ready and better off than ever.
All right. Well, and you discover new family members and everything, and there's nothing stronger than family, man. So Landon, congratulations on expanding yours.
Thank you so much.
All right. Catch up with you soon, buddy.